Hey everybody, movie review next story here and I'm back on another review. This time I saw Rebel Ridge. This is an action thriller film directed by Jeremy Saulnier from 2024 and it stars, just a sec, oh Jesus, Aaron Pierre, Don Johnson, Anna Sophia Robb, Emery Cohen, David Denman, and James Cromwell. In this film, a former Marine confronts corruption in a small town when local law enforcement unjustly seizes the bag of cash he needs to post his cousin's bail. So, what did I think of Rebel Ridge? Um, I didn't like it. I was hoping to like it. I liked what the trailer was setting up. I had some suspicions, and I'll talk about the suspicions, but I overall did not care for this film. Let me get to the cast. Sorry if the frame rate's a bit weird. I don't know. My camera's always acting weird. Aaron Pierre plays. My phone's not wanting to work. Terry Richmond, former Marine, trying to post his his cousin's bail. Um, he's good in the film. That's one thing I can give to this film is that the main three actors, Aaron Pierre, Don Johnson, and Anna Sophia Robb, do good jobs. Even if I'm not a fan of some of how some of their characters go, and I'll explain that. But Aaron Pierre, I think, could make a decent action lead at some point. I haven't seen a lot of his other stuff. He hasn't been in a ton of movies yet. He's going to be in the new Lion King movie. He was in Foe with Saoirse Ronan and I think Paul Mescal. He was in Old. Um, but yeah, I like him here. He's one of the few shining things I can say about this film. Don Johnson plays Chief Sandy Byrne. He's the chief of this corrupt police station. Um, he, I love Don Johnson. I've loved him in Brawl and Cell Block 99. I loved him in Dragged Across Concrete, even though he wasn't part of those movies. A Boy and His Dog, I think, is a very underrated sci-fi film. Um, he was on Miami Vice. He was really good on Miami Vice. Um, High Heat with Oka Krylenko, I thought he did nice. He's a definitely very accomplished actor, and I think he works here, even though I think the character he's given to play is a bit stale, boring. Um, Anna Sophia Robb plays Summer McBride. She's a forgot what she is, a district attorney. Not a district attorney. She's like she's one of the people trying to help him, or pretty much the only person trying to help him. Anna Sophia Robb is an actress that you would have thought would have had a bigger, like a way bigger career because she's in some pretty big movies earlier on in her career. She was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Bridge to Terabithia, which I love. Um, Jumper, Soul Surfer, Race to Witch Mountain, The Reaping. The movie I know her from is Because of Winn-Dixie, which I do want to watch again because I remember loving that film as a kid. Here, I do think she does a good job, and it was nice to see her in a film again. It was nice to see her name in the trailer because the only thing I'd really known that she'd been in the past decade is a show called The Carrie Diaries, I think, but I never watched that. It seemed like a like kind of a chick drama, and I'm not really into those. But she does a good job. Emery Cohen plays Officer Steve Land. I think he's one of the officers that pulls over a main character at the beginning. I like Emery Cohen usually. I'm not a big fan of him here. I think he's very boring, very bland. Yeah, not much to say about his character. And David Denman is the other officer. He was okay. But here's the thing about this film. When you see this, what do you immediately think? Your plot is you have a veteran dealing with crooked cops who doesn't have a place to live currently, so he's in the forest or a place to stay. So he's in the forest, catching food, cooking it on coals, um, and he takes on a corrupt police department. What does that sound like? First Blood, the first Rambo movie. And this is nowhere near as good as First Blood. I can't stand this constant barrage of movies nowadays that feels the need to comment on not just crooked cops, but racism and everything. Don't you think it's a bit belittling when pretty much every big movie that comes out that's like a thriller or an action movie that involves a black character as the lead has to focus on racism? Imagine if every movie that a German actor is in, they play a Nazi, or they're always the villains. That seemed pretty offensive too. This is pretty offensive, I think. Uh, and the fact that the racism plot feels so shoved in, especially since it almost all but disappears by the second half when it becomes a very slow moving thriller that has barely any action. The only action in this, there's a bit around halfway point where he disarms a couple cops. There's a there's like a stop that's made where he disarms a cop and drives away, which I can barely call an action scene, and then there's the bit at the end that's you've seen in the trailer, which wasn't anything spectacular. That's one thing I have to say right off the bat. As even if I take away my thoughts of this story-wise, the action in this is piss poor. I understand the point is that our main character doesn't want to kill anybody, so he uses non-lethal takedowns and shit. Some of the choreography looks fine, some of it looks very stilted, and I'm not big on that. It just looks off to me. And the fact that the ending of this movie is just so, oh my God, like the ending of this movie is so anticlimactic, just like the last one. Maybe even worse, because you think there's going to be this big, like, climax between our main character and the villain, and it just doesn't happen. And there are people praising this movie for being realistic. I'm tired of these movies being praised just for mentioning race. It's so fucking annoying. Like, I am aware, I'm aware I'm not black. I'm aware. But all these movies that are like, it feels like the racism talk isn't because they're trying to be like, oh yeah, racism is bad. It feels more like pandering at this point for most movies that do this. Just like The Hate You Give felt like pandering. Like, this movie, the racism subplot is literally just they don't believe that he got the money for his cousin's bail legitimately because he's black, and they believe it's drug money, and they arrest him on conspiracy or are going to arrest him on conspiracy charges. And again, I'm not a cop myself. I know some cops. I don't know if any of this shit that they're talking about is real or if it's shit taken out of context, but it seems very unrealistic the way it's portrayed. The racist cops are horribly, horribly acted. And the only cop that isn't racist is a slightly overweight black female cop, which immediately shows me what this film is trying to do. It's trying to do another all cops are bastards type plot, and I'm not a fan of that. It feels very disrespectful to cops who actually are trying to do their job when every movie nowadays that focuses wildly on cops has to have a subplot about a dirty cop. And in this, it's an entire fucking precinct, and the only person that isn't dirty is the black female cop. So there's that, which, again, First Blood did a lot better. even if the acting was a bit more broad in First Blood, it was still entertaining. The film knew what it was supposed to be, which was an action thriller. And again, Rambo didn't kill anybody. People will make the argument that the rock he threw at the helicopter killed the cop. I don't personally believe that counts as him killing him. Anyways, enough talking about a good movie. I have to talk about this. And again, the ending of this film is very boring. Now, Jeremy Saulnier, the director of this, I have not seen all of his films. I know he's done Murder Party, which I haven't seen, Hold the Dark, Blue Ruin. I have not seen those three. Green Room, though, I did see. I've never understood why Green Room was such a big hit. I've never understood why people think it's fantastic. It feels like just another survival film. I've seen tons of better survival films. Um, just to let me try to think of an actual like one that I actually like. Fucking, well, I can't right now. But I've definitely seen a lot better survival films than that. The direction was good, but a lot of the action in it was boring, and I think it's the same here. Um, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about James Cromwell. He's barely in the film. He plays a judge. Is in two scenes. He's okay. There's some really weird ADR on him at one point where it feels like it's not even his voice. Because I know what James Cromwell sounds like. Babe is one of my favorite movies. Um, but yeah. Um, the what else about this film? Well, here's one thing. The only characters that you're meant to root for in this film, or that basically have a spotless record, are black characters. Which, again, you're there's a weird racially motivated thing to this, where it's like the only characters that we know of that are like we're supposed to root for Anna Sophia Robb's character, but then it's revealed that she's like a recovering drug addict. But it's worse that she did it because she has a kid. She did it when she had a kid. And the one white character that we're supposed to root for in this entire film is a person who abandoned their kid. Like, but the cousin, who we don't get to know at all, um, didn't. He apparently did it because he had to. He was in the projects. He was trying to sell drugs in order to get out of the projects. That whole trope. So it seems very weird to have pretty much all of the white characters be despicable human beings, and pretty much all the black characters are either amazing, perfect people like Aaron Pierre's character, or the cousin who did what he had to. It just feels really gross from a writing standpoint and from an ethics standpoint. And oh god, the length. This movie's 2 hours and 11 minutes. Yes, like 9 of that is credits for some fucking reason because every movie has to have 10 fucking minutes of credits nowadays. Um, but this film is way too long for the story it's trying to tell. There are multiple scenes that go on for way too long. There are some scenes that don't really need to be there at all. There are some instances where I was like, okay, this could be interesting, like when they're breaking into the courthouse to retrieve footage to use against the cops. That could have been interesting, but it's shot kind of weird and it's not paced out well. So a big issue with this film is pacing. And it's not even that I don't like long movies. One of my favorite films is one called Dragged Across Concrete, which is 2 hours and 37 minutes, I'm pretty sure. So quite a bit longer than this. And the ending shootout is about an hour long, or at least 40 minutes. The ending of the movie is a fucking long ass shootout that takes its time, but is very well directed by S. Craig Zoller. You have fantastic acting and performances from Mel Gibson, from Tori Kittles, from Vince Vaughn, from Michael J. White, Thomas Kretschmann, everybody involved. And you have the score, and just everything about that film does what this film is trying to do way better. Um, but yeah, again, the action very unremarkable, very bland. Again, I'm aware it's supposed to be in a way similar to First Blood where he's not killing anybody, but still. Uh, so the things I can compliment about this, well, first off, the main character is painted as like this sacrificial lamb or this perfect god who does nothing wrong. I'm not gonna. He doesn't deserve what happens to him in this movie, but we have to mention that the first thing we see this character doing is biking down the middle of a road in the middle of nowhere, blasting music in his headphones, and then he's like, I didn't hear you coming. And he doesn't really have an excuse there. He literally was listening, blasting loud music, The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, which is a good song. But you were blasting music in your headphones driving down the middle of the fucking road, like you're kind of asking to get rear-ended as somebody who bikes. Um, just that I was like, dude, you're asking to get rear-ended off the road. Bikers still have to respect the rules of the road. But yeah, the real only real things I can give compliments to in this, again, performances, Aaron Pierre, and Sophia Rob, Don Johnson, even though I don't like Don Johnson's character and how it's written, he is horribly written. Uh, the film looks good cinematography wise. Jeremy Saulnier, that's one of the few things I think he excels at. He should work as a cinematographer and not as a director, I think. And um, the score was fine. But overall, I did not enjoy this. It was really long, really just not fun to watch, and yeah, just kind of a waste of my time. But yeah, that was my review of Rebel Ridge. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door.